we're going to dive into OPT being canceled. It is on the chopping block. USCIS Director Joseph Edlow and Congressman Riley Moore, they're pushing it to be canceled. They've been talking about it, and it's coming up, and it's on my newsfeed, and people are getting scared, and it affects people who are planning, right? So again, the people who, let's talk about what this is. When you are an international student and you graduate, you can be on occupational practical training for 1 year. And if you're a STEM major, you can extend it by 2 more years for a total of 3 years. And so this is for training purposes. You essentially have a job. It's great for international students. But the reason why USCIS, Joseph Edlow, and Congressman Riley Moore wants to cancel it is because they're saying this is bypassing the congressional intent of immigration policies. Other people have to apply for H-1B. They have to be vetted. They have to go through the lottery in order to be able to work. And the historical context of it is that it was negotiated, it was discussed, it solves a major problem in the US economy. Let's just take a step back all the way back to the 2000s when OPT got their extensions. Back then, the push was for the tech industry. The United States needs so much more help, and they were pleading to expand the H-1B so there could be more visa numbers. Because remember, back then, there were a lot more H-1B visa numbers, and then it sunset and the number reduced, but there's still all these jobs that needs to be filled. But Congress couldn't get themselves together to pass a new H-1B bill to have more visas, right? And so, why don't we just extend the OPT period? It's relatively easy. You extend the number of years that they can have it, so they can, while they're on their OPT, they have more chances to go through the lottery to start on the H-1B path. Well, let's look at the past, 20 years, from 2007 all the way to the present, right? Past 20 years, what's the US unemployment rate, right? Financial crisis, housing crisis, stock market bust, us millennials living through this entire period. Was it significantly bad in the US economy? The unemployment rate has still been historically at the 3-4% mark, even with all these OPT. So that just proves that the US needed all of these OPT students, all the H-1Bs, and the insatiable demand for good tech workers. And not just tech workers, just workers in general. I feel like we see this time and time again, right? Immigrants, international students, people with visas, they're just a scapegoat for any problem. And so never mind that with all of the demand the past 20 years and all the OPT students that graduated to the H-1B program, that graduated to the EB-2, EB-3 program, that finally get their green card after 10, 15 years of being in the US. And for a lot of Indians who have a huge backlog, they were on OPT for a couple years, they're on H-1B for like decades, and they still can't get a green card because of the priority date. Now, I'm okay if you talk about it a different way, right? I'm okay if USCIS officers, Joseph Edlow or the congressman, position it as the OPT program was a good intent. We want to refine it. We want to make it better. When you apply for the work authorization, we want to tie it to a particular employer. We want to be vetted. We want to be e-verified. We want to do this and that. You want to make it more streamlined and vetted. That's fine, right? You're making a program better, more efficient, more clear. Okay, you want to prevent OPT fraud, right? There was a whole bunch of FBI busts of fake schools. You don't want students to be naive and scammed. That's great. I'm all for that. But when you say all these international students are just stealing American jobs and these big tech companies are just suppressing wages and all this stuff, I feel like that ignores the historical context, the need, the demand, and the benefit that the US got from it, and you're escaping it on these international students. That is causing a lot of frustration with people who are thinking about, well, should I come to the United States to study, or should I go to Canada, or should I go to the UK, right? Or international students who just are about to graduate, it's April, should they go and study somewhere else? a lot of the arguments when I was reading it from the way they're presenting is like, it's not fair, right? It's the tech industry that is getting this unique privilege and they're benefiting it and the rest of America is not benefiting. Well, you have two options, don't you? You have one option, which is to cancel OPT altogether so nobody get that privilege. Or you can make it so that everybody else also gets 3 years. But no, your solution is to cancel OPT altogether, right? Make everybody lose out on that privilege. That's a thing that I see again and again. Even if you do have a fair argument, which I don't think they do, their solution is also one-sided. So if OPT gets canceled and if it gets reduced down to 1 year or even half a year, it would force everybody onto the H-1B track. And maybe there will be a H-1B reform this year. I'm predicting that it might happen. And so H-1B might have a lot more visa numbers and a lot more people will get selected, so there's no more lottery and it might be really expensive, but at least it forces everybody onto that track. I'm against it from the political standpoint of using talking points and scapegoating. When they blame the international students, when they blame the US employers because this compromise was done not by the employers. The employers have been pushing for more H-1B. It's Congress who couldn't come together to expand the H-1B program. And the easy compromise, the easy solution was just to expand the OPT so that more international STEM majors, elite students could be able to go into the workforce to fulfill the need that Americans cannot meet. Now, why are we bringing it up now conveniently? Is it because inflation is high? Is it because of AI? Is it because you could score political points? I'm all for, again, combating OPT fraud by fake schools. I'm all for making it a little bit clearer so when you're applying for employment authorization, it's tied to a particular employer. I'm all for expanding the entire H-1B program if that is what the US needs. So the best advice for anybody who is an international student, who didn't get selected on the H-1B, who's banking on OPT, it's time to rethink that plan, right? And maybe it forced people to get married sooner, which is also unfortunate that they have to make that kind of calculation. But that's the news for today.